In the heart of Central Africa, where the sun casts a golden glow over vast savannas and winding rivers, a story of extraordinary resilience was forged. This is Angola, a land of ancient kingdoms, rich traditions and deep-rooted power. Long before European sails scarred the horizon, this was a world governed by its own complex web of politics, trade and culture. The kingdoms of Ndongo and Matamba thrived here, their societies built on intricate hierarchies and a profound connection to their ancestral lands. But into this vibrant world a storm was gathering, and into this storm a leader was born. She was more than a queen. She was a brilliant strategist, a ferocious warrior, and a master of diplomacy and deception whose name would echo through centuries. The 17th century, a time of aggressive colonial expansion. European powers, hungry for resources and dominion, viewed Africa as a continent ripe for the taking, its people commodities for a brutal new global economy. From the coast of Portugal, caravels set sail, their destination, the Angolan coast. They did not come seeking equal partnership. They came armed with cannons, muskets, and an insatiable demand for human lives to fuel the burgeoning sugar plantations of Brazil. Their arrival was a cataclysm. They brought not just chains, but a strategy of division, pitting local leaders against one another, turning alliances into betrayals, and transforming a land of kingdoms into a landscape of war and enslavement. But Africa would not be conquered without a fight. Across the continent, resistance flared. From the forests to the plains, warriors rose to defend their homes, their families, and their very way of life. They fought with courage and ingenuity, using their knowledge of the terrain to their advantage. Yet the resistance was often fractured, a patchwork of individual kingdoms fighting for their own survival against a unified and technologically superior foe. The Portuguese were masters at exploiting these divisions, promising power to some in exchange for the capture of others. A unifying force was desperately needed, someone who could see beyond tribal rivalries and forge a coalition strong enough to challenge an empire. That force was Nzinga Mbande. Born into the ruling family of the Ndongo, she was not destined for the throne. But her father, the king, recognized in his daughter an intellect and a will that surpassed his son's. He broke with tradition, personally training her in the arts of war, diplomacy and statecraft. She learned to ride, to wield weapons, and most importantly, to read the ambitions and weaknesses of men. She emerged not just as a princess, but as a political and military prodigy. Her name would become a symbol of defiance, a story of a leader who refused to bow, who commanded armies in battle, who was unyielding in council, and whose regal presence masked a mind always 5 steps ahead of her enemies. This is the story that colonial powers tried to erase, to twist into a caricature of savagery. Because a powerful, intelligent African queen who defied them was a truth too dangerous to be remembered. Her name was Queen Nzinga, and her 4-decade-long war against the Portuguese Empire is one of the most remarkable yet overlooked sagas in world history. So how did she do it? How did one woman leading a nation under siege manage to outmaneuver seasoned Portuguese governors, forge unprecedented alliances with their Dutch rivals, and even establish a new kingdom free from colonial rule? How did she blend ruthless military tactics with masterful diplomacy to not only survive, but to become a symbol of freedom that inspires to this day? The answers lie in a life of breathtaking courage and strategic genius. Her story is not just history. It's a masterclass in leadership against impossible odds. And it begins now. In the heart of West Central Africa, the kingdom of Ndongo flourished. A land of rolling savannas and dense forests, rich in culture and governed by a proud lineage of Ngolas or kings. But by the late 16th century, a dark tide was turning. Portuguese caravels, once symbols of trade, had become harbingers of destruction. Their coastal forts grew on the landscape, fueling a monstrous appetite for human lives to work the sugar plantations of Brazil. The transatlantic slave trade was not a distant threat. It was a brutal reality, turning neighbors into enemies and poisoning the region. It was into this world, on the knife's edge of survival and annihilation, that a future queen was born in 1583, Nzinga Mbande. Legend tells that her birth was a difficult one. She entered the world with the umbilical cord wrapped around her neck, a sign that the path ahead would be fraught with struggle. A wise woman of the court, seeing this, prophesied that the child who fought so hard to draw her first breath would one day become a great and powerful queen. Her very name, Nzinga, derived from the Kimbundu word for to twist, became a symbol of this prophecy. She was not merely a royal daughter. She was a living embodiment of her people's will to endure, a promise of resistance in an age of despair. Her father, Ngola Kiluanji Kiasamba, saw the fire in her eyes. While tradition might have relegated a princess to the background, he shattered convention. He recognized in Nzinga a political acumen and strategic mind that far surpassed that of her brother Mbandi. The king brought her into the heart of power, allowing her to sit in on royal councils and witness the complex art of statecraft. He ensured she received a rigorous military education, training with the most skilled warriors in the kingdom. She learned to wield the battle axe and command troops on the field. But her father knew the wars to come would be won not just with steel, but with intellect. He was grooming a leader, not just a warrior. Nzinga devoured this knowledge. She sought out captured missionaries and traders to learn their language, mastering Portuguese with fluency. This was not an academic exercise. It was the sharpening of a blade. By understanding her enemy's tongue, she could understand their treaties, their deceptions, and their mindset. She studied the intricate web of alliances and rivalries that defined the region, learning the motivations of neighbouring kingdoms and the brutal, opportunistic nature of the Imbangala mercenaries who fought with the Portuguese. She became a master of intelligence, a silent observer gathering information and analysing the shifting tides of power. She was being forged in the fires of crisis, becoming a weapon of diplomacy and unwavering resolve. Upon her father's death, her brother Ngola Mbandi ascended to the throne and the kingdom began to crumble. Consumed by paranoia and insecurity, Mbandi's reign was a catastrophe. He executed political rivals, alienated his best commanders, and made a series of disastrous concessions to the Portuguese. As Ndongo's armies suffered defeat after defeat, the court was paralyzed by fear. In this vacuum of leadership, Nzinga stepped forward. She became the voice of defiance in a court whispering of surrender, the clear-eyed strategist when her brother saw only betrayal. Her counsel, once a private word, now rang out with authority, a beacon for a desperate nation. Her charisma, forged in military camps and refined in the royal court, was magnetic. The soldiers respected her courage, the elders admired her wisdom, and the people saw in her the strength her brother so desperately lacked. Support for her grew, not as a challenge to the throne, but as a necessity for survival. It became an unspoken truth within the kingdom. The future of Ndongo would not be secured by the faltering king, but by the indomitable will of his sister. The princess had become a political force in her own right. Her rise was not a matter of ambition, but of destiny calling. The stage was set for her to confront the Portuguese Empire, a queen in the making. The Portuguese expected to dominate Ndongo with military and trade power. But Nzinga had other plans. She would not be conquered. Legend tells us that when envoys demanded submission, Nzinga refused to kneel. Instead, she used a servant as a human stool, showing both wit and defiance. Nzinga built a powerful army, formed alliances, and integrated escaped slaves into her forces. Her strategies became a symbol of resistance. Nzinga understood that power went beyond the battlefield. She used marriages, alliances, and even religious negotiations to protect her kingdom. Nzinga's reign lasted over 30 years. She resisted colonization and inspired generations. Today she is remembered as one of Africa's greatest leaders. Queen Nzinga's story is more than a historical account. It is a powerful testament to unwavering courage, a masterclass in strategic intelligence, and a profound example of transformative leadership. Her courage was not the absence of fear, but the mastery of it. She faced the might of the Portuguese Empire, a global superpower of its time, while simultaneously navigating treacherous internal rivalries and enduring profound personal losses. Yet through it all she never faltered, never surrendered her people's right to exist. Her intelligence was a weapon sharper than any blade. She was a grandmaster on the geopolitical chessboard, skillfully playing the Portuguese against their European rivals, the Dutch. She forged and broke alliances with calculated precision, turning enemies into pawns and rivals into allies. Her diplomatic encounters were legendary, each move designed to assert her sovereignty and the dignity of her people in a world that sought to deny both. And her leadership was truly transformative. For over 4 decades, she defied a colonial empire not with weapons alone, but with a brilliant mind and an unbreakable will. She united fractured kingdoms and nomadic warriors under a single banner, forging the powerful new state of Ndongo Matamba. She turned a nation perpetually on the defensive into a formidable commercial and military hub, a beacon of resistance that shone brightly against the darkness of the slave trade. Today, her legacy is etched into the very soul of Angola. She is more than a historical figure. She is a foundational mother of the nation. Her name was a rallying cry during Angola's 20th century struggle for independence. Her statue in Luanda, a constant reminder of the strength found in defiance. She is a symbol of resistance that inspired generations to fight for their freedom. Nzinga's life shatters the colonial myth of a passive, undeveloped Africa waiting to be discovered. She proved that one person's determination could not only safeguard a nation's future, but could fundamentally rewrite the narrative of power. Her story resonates today as a powerful symbol of black resilience, female leadership, and the universal struggle for self-determination. But her epic is just one of countless sagas woven into the rich tapestry of African history. For every Nzinga we know, there are thousands of other kings, queens, scholars, and innovators whose stories have been silenced or lost to time. Think of the architects of Great Zimbabwe, whose stone city rivaled any in Europe. Consider the astronomers of the Dogon people who mapped star systems centuries before Western science. Imagine the vast libraries of Timbuktu, centers of learning that drew scholars from across the world. These are not mere footnotes. Their triumphs and struggles hold timeless lessons in governance, diplomacy, science, and philosophy. Reclaiming these narratives is an act of historical justice. It is about restoring a more complete and accurate picture of our shared human heritage. If you believe these stories deserve to be brought into the light, then this is more than just a channel, it's a community. It's a movement to reclaim what was lost. Join our journey, subscribe and activate notifications to ensure you don't miss the next chapter in this grand saga. History waits for no one, and the time to reclaim these powerful narratives is now. Let's honor their memory by telling their tales, for in their stories we find not only the past but also the keys to our future.